Starting. The Hangout is live on air. Yo, welcome to Beatppl Podcast, episode 36. Me and my mans and them in the mix. And we got a special guest, Bo Beats. What's happening, Bo? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Been watching your podcast for quite a while. Been kind of lurking in the chat.
Glad to have you, man. I mean, I've checked out some of your reviews and stuff, and I like the way you approach your reviews and just your content on YouTube in general.
Yeah, thanks.
So glad to have you on the show, man. Let's go around the panel and say what's up to everybody. D Still, what's going on, bro?
Man, I'm chilling. Dealing with this jet lag. Been waking up at random times of the night, just because jumping back and forth between different states and different countries is kind of, it's ridiculous on your timing. But happy to be home. I leave again tomorrow morning. So, yeah.
Just enough time to stop in for Beatppl Podcast.
Of course, man. You know I got to make time for the family.
Word up.
Great.
What's up with you, KP?
So,
did everybody ever call you KP?
Yeah, no, actually, I would really prefer you not call me that ever again. We can go by Ken, we can go by Flux, and we can go by like that.
For the rest of the day, you're creepy KP. No,
I got a story about being called Creepy Kenny. But
Creepy Kenny.
Yeah, so I came down with a cold the other day, thanks to the kids. So that's been fun. Working with a sinus headache is like the worst thing in sound design. So, so I'm championing through though, and just trying to. I got some work that I'm knocking out, which I'm thankful to be busy. That's always good, and just getting stuff done, man. I did pick up a MPC Live the other day, so I've been learning that as well. And we got thoughts about that. We'll get to that, but yeah. So I'm happy to see Bo's on here. I've known Bo for a good long while now, so it's good to see him here and Steele and yeah. So looking forward to a good show.
No doubt. But yeah, it's good to so I'm always glad to have y'all on the show, man. I'm glad Bo is here, and we're just going to talk a little bit. Actually, people might already know Bo from his YouTube channel and stuff, but why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you are, what you do, how you got started and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'll do like the quick version, I guess. I'm a psychotherapist and university teacher by trade, sort of, and education, and I've been doing that for like the last 8 years. And before that, I did a lot of music. Started, I guess, like 17 years ago. Was pretty heavy into the Swedish HipHop scene for a couple of years. Did a bit of beat making, did a bit of rapping even in Swedish. So that's something.
I gotta hear this.
Yeah, I don't know if it was really my thing, but yeah, I think I did one or two tracks that were okay. But yeah, and but when my other career took off, I kind of took a little break with the music, and just the last couple of years been spending more time online with the YouTube thing, tutorials, beat making videos, reviews, like you said, Corey, and it's just been kind of taking off a little bit. I mean, it's kind of a niche thing to be doing, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've got a great kind of response from people. Mm-hmm. So I guess like my main audience are like guys in like their 30s, 40s, 50s and up. I have like a lot of older people as well. A lot of synth people. A lot of like, how do you say, like hobbyists, and a lot of guys like myself coming back into music. You know, maybe the kids are grown up, and a lot of those guys are kind of coming to my channel, and I think that's kind of the audience I'm mostly reaching, I think.
That's dope. So I'm gonna start calling you Dr. Bo, and then book the first session with Ken so that you can talk him through his life.
Yeah. No amount of psychotherapy is helping.
I was gonna say, I was like, hey, that's gonna be a long session.
Yeah. You know, I just, you know, I take payment by the hour, so
There you
it's,
go.
it's
You
like
get
a
rich.
grand an hour, and we're
That's dope. So, hey, let me ask. So you did like hip hop, huh? I didn't realize that. So Swedish
yeah
hip hop. Nice.
yeah.
What's the scene like in Sweden for hip hop?
It's
I have
so
no
hard for
clue.
me to say.
Yeah.
I was sort of when I started. That was kind of at the. I started when hip hop got like started to get more mainstream in Sweden. So for the longest time,
Give us
it was really. Sorry.
like years. Give us like a
Yeah. So there's like 90, like 97, 98, 99, somewhere around
Okay.
there. Yeah, I think so. Like I can maybe I mixed up the dates here, but yeah, like say 90, 97. Let's say 97. There was a lot of like there was this big Swedish hip hopper called Petter, and he was kind of like this really Swedish white guy, real Swedish person. Is like he. But the influences from the American scene was so clear also, and he kind of brought it together like in a Swedish way and an American way, and it
It's so
so
funny that
worked.
you described it. Like you said Swedish guy, white guy, and I'm like, yeah, I would have never expected that.
It's just so it was so. I mean, we had like a couple of groups before that made a splash. But they never really got this like big recognition. I think it had to do with kind of the culture clashing and everything, and the scene wasn't very developed in Sweden back then. So when he started doing his thing and got recognition, a lot of I was a kid back then, and a lot of kids got into hip hop. I think in because of him, and then we got in touch, of course, with like the American scene and with other more underground Swedish rappers. Yeah, so
Was
there was
like a breakdance scene as well? Was there like breaking and graffiti?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All the elements.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. But I was too like I was a bit too young to sort of go on that. In that we had that during like I guess maybe late 80s, early 90s. We had it, but I was a baby boy then, so like. But yeah, somewhere around like 97, 98, I think it sort of took off really, like got like into, and nowadays it's it's quite big here in Sweden.
Nice.
For sure. I mean, we got the trap thing and everything, like the Swedish versions, it's it's a little bit different. It's like
I'm really interested to hear what that would sound like, because I'm gonna Google that later.
Yeah, I'm probably. I know I'm not very in tune. I mean, there's some really great guys, really great like, how do you say, like more hardcore stuff that's more real. But there's also like the mainstream stuff, and some of it is really good. But yeah, it's also some of the stuff is quite Swedish. Like it's very like it's very people. Like, how do you say, people friendly? Like it's very, there's a lot of mainstream stuff for sure, like a lot of auto tuning going on.
I just found a whole Reddit section on Swedish trap, and I'm bookmarking it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Swedish trap. Now that's something I didn't expect to come across. That's dope.
Yeah, I hope I'm correct here. The terminology.
No, I mean, there's a whole
I think there's something
section
like
on it. It obviously is.
Yeah, I just recently like did a local giveaway. I gave away some stuff like a pair of speakers and a sound card, like old stuff I had. The stuff I started with, and I kind of put out an ad like I got this stuff. If somebody want to come and get it, somebody young, preferably, starting out, and I got in touch with like a local kind of hip hop group, and I think they did some kind of trap inspired stuff, but a little bit pop influenced, I think, as well. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
Nice.
So you said you started doing your YouTube thing. What was the thing that inspired you? Was it just that, like, hey, I'm getting back into music, so I'm gonna start doing YouTube, or like what was the point that made you say I'm about to do this thing and get into like
some kind of deep existential anxiety, I think. I just been listening to people all day, and I just needed to talk to someone. Put my thoughts out there, unfiltered. But no, I think it was, I got my first child in 2004, 14. I mean 14, 2014, and around then I started to get back into music more and more. It sort of suited me very well when I was, taking care of the child, playing stuff, and around then I just looked for different ways to kind of a creative outlet, a place for me to reach people, essentially. I think that was some kind of deep drive I had. Like, I want to reach somebody. For the longest of time, I kind of kept to myself with my music, and so that was the drive, I think. And I started by doing some shitty videos, like, I don't know, in 2015 or something, really shitty stuff. And in, I think it was it late 2015, maybe early 2016, I started with the circuit. I think it was 2016, like in the January or something like that. And I was on a conference, and I just picked it up, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Let's shoot a video. Right. And then it sort of happened.
I remember your whole vibe back then too, because you had even talked to me a little bit back then as well. And I remember one of the things that, and to this day, I tell people, because YouTube is a beast in that it doesn't matter the quality of the content. When you put out content, you have to have a certain personality that is strong enough to withstand the masses. Yeah. So I remember when you first started doing it, you were like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, that, and I was talking to you, and you were just very genuine about everything that you were doing. And there was no facade. You know what I mean? Like your videos were you, and you didn't pretend to know everything in the world. You just did your videos, and you said, look, this is what I'm discovering, and this is how I'm doing it. And it was very genuine. And whenever I would see people get like rude about it, I was like, yeah, but like, I know guys that are on these videos that are fronting. Like there's a lot of people out there that pretend like they know something they don't know. And I never get that vibe from you. I always get this vibe of like, hey, I'm learning too. And I know things, and I want to show them to you. And maybe I'll learn things along the way as well. And, we can grow together. And I think that that's a wonderful vibe. It's a very inclusive vibe that I feel like it's there. It almost seems like some people get off on this edge of, oh, well, I know something someone else does, so I'm going to act elitist about it. And it's like, well, dude, it's not rocket. Like, we're not sending people to Mars. We're making music. Like, chill out and enjoy it, because you know what? You can be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if you're not enjoying the experience and the travel of making this music, then you're losing. You know what I mean? Then you're not doing it right, at the end of the day. And that's what I always liked about your stuff, is that I never got this era of, oh, I know something you don't know, and that makes me better.
It's one of those things too. We're in the information age. It's the era of the expert, right? So everybody wants to look like an expert and be revered as an expert. But I think it's more genuine when you do approach it and say, you know what? I'm learning something about this thing, or I do have this to offer, but I'm learning this too. And because the fact of the matter is, you learn when you teach, and you teach when you learn. It's a reciprocal art altogether. Yeah. So that's what's up.
For sure.
Let me ask you guys a question, all of you guys. For anybody that's ever reviewed gear, or anybody that, hell, for that matter, anybody that's ever just bought gear and talked to their friends about it, what's the I don't want to call things out, but is there a piece of gear that any of you all have gotten and thought, this ain't what I thought it was? This is not living up to what I wish it was. What was that? What's one of the pieces of gear that comes to mind for each one of y'all?
Oh, I'll tell you right off the rip.
What is it?
Rhythm Wolf.
That's classic.
Rhythm Wolf, Tomcat.
Actually, hold on.
Wait.
I'm gonna step in for the Tomcat for a hot
Tomcat
second.
was way better than the Rhythm Wolf.
I will say, yeah. So my issue with both of those is that they feel like I know a lot of people want to say when analog goes wrong, right?
No, I don't think it went wrong.
But
I just think it was hard.
My feeling, and I did like a long unboxing, first impressions, and it was a long live stream on my channel. If you go to my channel, you can watch it. It's pretty long, but it's me discovering it with no bias at all.
I remember you did like an unboxing thing, and
and it was legit. I paid for it. It was legit. Me discovering how well it's done because I had a friend.
I'm here like, man, what are you buying this for, Ken?
Yeah. Well, I had a friend of mine that swore up and down that it was great, and I had other people I knew that swore up and down that it was horrible, and I was like, you know what? Let me make my own mind up. So I did it, and here's what I'll say though: it's not great, but it's also not horrible. It's not. The Tomcat has some very useful aspects of it, right? And then it's got other aspects of it that are trash, and that's okay. Because look at the price point. The price point's crazy low, and at that price point and at that time, there wasn't much else out there doing anything like that, and that's okay. So, yeah, my biggest gripe with the Rhythm Wolf is the distortion circuit was horrible, and it completely threw the voicing off.
It was horrible, Ken.
Out of all of it, that's my biggest gripe is that as soon as you turn that distortion circuit up, the voicing just goes to shit.
Oh, here's another device that people might be surprised that I hated when I first got it. Circuit.
The circuit?
I can totally see why somebody would like it.
And here's the reason why.
The grid.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it.
I hate device. The Volca sample was the same thing. I don't like devices that constrain me to a grid. And at least give me the option to turn it off.
Do you mean like the quantization?
Yeah, give me the option.
Or an option to go into a high resolution mode where it
exactly
get that push-pull feel.
Exactly. And when I first got the circuit, I was like, this is cool, but I can't really be as musical as I want to be based off of my timing and my groove with the circuit. And it was just kind of like, yeah, I'm taking this back. I can't.
But man, you know what's dope about that thing is they have supported the crap out of that thing.
Yes, they have.
They keep dropping releases, and I didn't expect them to release that sample update. And I mean, there's some dope stuff about it. I like the fact that it definitely thinks differly. It's not.
Now we got the micro timings as well. The micro.
Yeah, now they have that. Yeah, now they have it, and now Novation. Hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm sorry.
It's definitely it's one of those pieces though that because when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, we got encoders, and there's no way to tell what the hell it is, what your encoders are. But I had it, and I did my little review on it, and it's cool. I don't necessarily think it's for me, but at the same time, I'm I kind of like what they were doing with it. I like where they went with it, and it's got a lot of cool possibilities.
Exactly.
I dug it.
I was really impressed with how deep Bo went. Bo went Bo took a grain of sand and expanded it into a universe. He dove so deep into that thing. That on the surface you would think is really shallow, but he really dove into that thing. So I gotta respect the hell out of that.
What about you? Is there a piece of gear that you've gotten that you kind of looked at after you got it and was like, that is not what I expected, or this is not, or at least this piece is not too cool, or whatever it is?
Yeah. So one thing that I kind of hard because most of the stuff that I got here, I've kind of chosen sort of wisely, sort of knowing, kind of did the research beforehand. But I guess not to, and not, this is definitely not to kind of diss on anything, but the guys that do the patch blocks, they did the mini jams, that small package with a synth and a drum machine.
I knew that wasn't going to be good. I saw that and I was just like, no, I'm sorry.
It's not good. What I had troubles with was the fact that the whole like, how do you say, yeah, the build quality of them, it's so flimsy. Like if they just upped that slightly, I would have been more convinced. Like I like them. There's a really cool analog filter. There's the drum machine works okay. The synth is yeah, it's not my cup. I think it's kind of noisy, kind of flimsy, hard to use. It's like a very plasticky, even more plasticky Volca. Like it's, but it's just kind of like
oh yeah, I saw. I looked it up. I just looked it up, but I saw that. Yeah, that thing looked really cool to me. That's sad that's not cool. And
yeah, like the filter and the drum machine, and there's a mixer. Those three are cool. The synth, I don't think is very cool. Like I see a lots of people using the filter and the mixer because the mixer can also record to an SD card, which is really cool. You have a record button, and you so you could use it, and it's mono input.
The tech drum is the one that I was looking at.
Yeah, the tech drum is pretty cool. It works, but it's extremely plasticky. Like there's just how do you say, like a little plasticky cover that you can take off. It's almost like it's more like a wrapping.
Guys, we have. So
if you look at my window right now, Corey,
let's not talk about the other guys.
Corey, if you click on my window, you'll see what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
I see.
That was a letdown as well. That's the I have those. But it's not the finished look. So these are the black ones, yeah, and the finished ones have kind of a transparent white. So they look even more plasticky and feel even more plasticky. So that was a letdown because I was hoping that they would have upped the build quality from the prototypes to the finished versions.
I think build quality can be now I don't know their whole base, so if I'm speaking wrong, you guys can correct me, and if you don't know, then you guys can just pretend to correct me. But I think build quality can be difficult for these upstart companies that are doing Kickstarters and that sort of thing. Like I noticed that there's a product that I actually like called the ChordBot. Now the build quality on it is it's not terrible. It's not terrible by any means, but it's there like certain textures I feel like could have been different. And I think that's one of those things that if you were to get into changing the textures and the knob feel and all that, you get into, well, the timelines are going to be expanded and people might be upset for that kind of thing. Matter of fact, I have it right here. I know what I'm talking about. But the functionality I think is really dope. And it's really ambitious for what it is as well. So I actually really like it.
When you say it's really ambitious for what it is, do you think it missed the mark? Or
no, not really. No, I just feel like there's certain textures that I would change. Like I don't like that hard shiny plastic. To me that always feels brittle and weak, and I don't like the feel of the plastic knobs. The encoders don't have much resistance to them, and so like there's little things like that that are, they're okay, but I think with a longer and more robust finance situation that maybe would be improved upon. Like maybe if they did a Mark II, I would bet that would feel even better. You know what I mean? Yeah. But functionality, I think it's really functionality wise, it's really cool. And
but I get what you're saying, Ken, because it's something we have to kind of keep in mind when we approach the sort of kind of upstarter small companies upstart stuff, because it's of course tied to a really hefty kind of both kind of design process and production process and everything. So
tooling costs and all that.
So
look, you're being too nice, Bo. Akai has to answer for Rhythm Wolf.
Well, you know what? I think they have, and I think in particular, I think Dan has answered more. Dan Gill of Akai, he got the backlash more than anybody because you're talking about a guy who he's got a long history in the music industry. I'd love to get him on my show as well. But that guy, man, when the the Timberwolf came out, oh my God, he was lambasted for that thing. And really, he was also lambasted for the Rhythm Wolf, because if you remember, before the Rhythm Wolf dropped at that NAMM, they actually brought it before it was fully working, and he was pressured into showing it before it was ready to even be shown. And like from the Rhythm Wolf to the Timbre Wolf was really a mess. And it's kind of like, I hope that it doesn't fully discourage Akai from venturing into analog, because I don't want them to do it that way at all. But I mean, you look at the AX60 and AX80, like those synths were dope. Like,
yeah, they were dope synths.
They got. Now, granted, I also don't want them to do anything like those stupid analog, those quote analog boutique guitar pedals that Akai did that were really just Bing Yang Chinese pedals rebranded with their name on it. Like, I thought that was really shitty. That they
or
did.
the Miniac.
No. See, you know what? I disagree. The Miniac is dope because it's it's a Micron. The Micron is dope. They bought the company, so what? Like, to me, that didn't really bother me. So it's a different layout of a Micron. So what? And if you didn't know that it was a Micron, then oh well, you're bad.
What I will say about the Miniac sounds much better than I ever thought it did. Like when I got it, and I
love the Micron Ion, all that. I love that.
Yeah, the Ion was fly. I remember, like, that was when, like, man,
people hate on it though. People hate on that synth, and I don't care. Like, they're wrong.
So their opinion sucks. Though, I want to get into some other synths. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last show, and I can't remember. I think we did a little bit. But the Grandmother, now it's been out there a little bit, and people have heard more demos and stuff. What are you guys thinking about the Moog Grandmother?
Future classic.
I want it.
Yes, I agree. What about you,
probably not wrong. Bo's probably not wrong. I probably won't buy one. But just for the simple fact that, like, no, I won't buy one just because I won't be touring with one. So, like, to me, it's great for like the dude in an indie band that like wants to tour. Like, to me, it's great on that level. But for a guy like me who's going to be mostly in my lab, like, I've got spring reverbs, I've got modular synths, I've got, all kinds of other mono synths. I have zero desire for it. To me, it's a very, very, very basic synthesis architecture with a spring reverb, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's cool. The only thing I really don't like is two things. I don't like the font of Grandmother. I think that looks terrible. I know, and I know that's so minor, but like,
you're getting petty now. You're getting petty.
I'm getting real petty, and I don't like the fact that Moog still has yet to like really live up to their name and innovate and do something that like makes us all say, "Oh my God!" Like, I didn't think this was possible in synthesis, because that's what I want from Moog. Like, I want Moog, the company who brought us synthesis, to continue, innovating and evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a little bored.
I just don't think it's going to happen like that. I don't expect that it will. I think companies that innovate, like, I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that innovate, and most of them don't continue to do so. They change the game, and everybody follows their lead, and then they have a tough time doing that all over again. What I mean?
But still, I mean, to be fair, like, Moog put out the Mother 32, and we got the DFAM, and now we got the Subharmonicon. I don't know if they're going to. I don't think they're going to mass produce it. No, I'm not sure. Maybe. Who knows?
They are, because they said the same thing about the DFAM.
I remember.
I expect that it will be. It's just a matter of time.
I think those products are pretty innovative in certain regards, I guess. I mean, it's kind of different. Not that much to compete with like the DFAM style of, like, it's a little different.
No, actually it is. So you bring up a good point. The form factor has obviously been copied a lot since Mother 32. That form factor in general has almost become like a standard of sorts for people to
Yeah, I mean, you got the Neutron and the Model D, like the same kind of format.
Right? That form factor and stuff. And then the Subharmonic, I don't know much about it. But I do think that the DFAM is something new. You know what I mean? It just it seems new. People think like drum machine, but it's more of a percussive synth, and it's something of its own. I don't know if anything else out there that's like that.
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos that Mylar Melodies did on it, and I think it was kind of interesting, like kind of original in a sense, like the kind of sounds he was getting out of it, and he seemed really excited about it. He got this ton of modules and URAC and stuff, but still the synth was exciting to him.
It does sound good. Everything that I've seen on it sounds great. Like, to me, I think it's perfect for the indie group guy. Like, I can see it in a lot of stage setups, man. A lot.
Grandmother.
What's that?
The grandmother.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I see, like, when I see the grandmother, I see what you're saying, but I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it just seems like a solid instrument that, I could honestly see that if this was however many years ago and all I had was an MPC, I could see pairing my MPC with the grandmother, and making those two my whole universe.
I think if it came out a couple of years ago, it would have been a much bigger story, in my opinion. The color scheme has been, a hot topic for a lot of people. I love the fact that it looks so ugly. Like, I love that. Like,
it's so ugly, it's cute.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I just don't like the fact that it's so prominent on it, because, like I always talk to St. Joe about the Beat Thing, and we always kind of joke around about how bad of a name the Beat Thing was.
Oh man!
Like, and it was so gaudy and everything. And they refer to it. All my buddies that have a Beat Thing refer to it as the BT1. They never call it the Beat Thing. And to me, it's like the grandmother is that same kind of thing. Like, I feel like that name is so horrible. Like yeah, I get where it's
let's not even talk about horrible names, Joe. Because remember when the DeepMind 12, when that name,
I still don't mind that name that much. I don't mind that name as much.
Make declarations that I am not calling it that.
Okay, so
should we get back to like German car manufacturer type names, like the XY80 and that kind of stuff?
It should be very sterile.
But the thing is, like, I think something I find very funny with like the whole like synth communities is that when something like the Neutron or the DeepMind 12 drops, people are like, yeah, they don't mind the name, they don't mind the look, even though like for me the DeepMind 12 looks like shit. I mean the colors, like it's so dull, like it's so uninspired. Like
the Neutron burns my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and if I would show these to my friends who are not musicians, that are, or my brother, he's a pop rock group, like with like the whole shebang, and if I would show it to him, they'd be exactly like Ken is saying here, like they'd be all over the grandmother. They would like love the colors, like love the design and everything. And if they'd seen something like Neutron, they would be like, what the hell? What kind of early 90s looking shit is this? Like, God damn. These colors? Did somebody do this in paint?
That's the thing, though, is like it looks like I designed it, and the funny thing is like Joe and Corey and Steele know, like whenever I'm doing any kind of product or anything, like they know that I go to them and I'm like, yo, does this look as bad as I think that it looks? Because I love it, so it must look horrible. And they're always like, yes, Ken, that looks terrible. Like the neon green, I was like, oh, yes.
Look, I actually like the way the grandmother looks. Oh, wow, that sentence could be taken so many.
It looks creative.
I like the way your grandmama looks too, by the way.
I like the way your grandmama look.
Yeah, but it's a good thing because you're kind of validating my hypothesis here, because you're kind of the closest thing in this group to what my brother is doing. Like, you're a real touring musician and stuff, and of course, you got a good, nice taste. So of course you like the grandmother. But Ken on the other end, likes the neon color schemes.
No doubt.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
You know what's dope about that thing though is that synth right there. It does have that retro vibe, and like I love that soul sound in live bands, like Budos Band and I'm gonna pronounce it wrong so everybody can laugh at me. El Michaels Affair, whatever it is. Like I love those types of bands. And I can see that synth sitting in that setup so perfectly. And on that level, I would sample the living hell out of it, make sample packs. I would use it for production, all that kind of stuff, except for the fact that I've got everything that it can do times 100 in my setup already. So I'm jaded. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't need it is all that it is. I don't think the price point's terrible. Like, I think that they cushion the price point by maybe $200 with their name. But other than that, I think the price point's okay.
I wish it had a sub oscillator.
Yeah, that was the biggest omission in my opinion. Was sub oscillator, and also there's no exponential FM.
Yeah,
linear FM only.
But that can be patched, right, Ken?
No.
It can't be patched on it. I haven't checked out the patch.
I mean, yeah. With if you got enough modules, I think you might be able to make that happen. But like, to me, it's not about that. It's about, I'm talking more about using it by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
Like, so for instance, you look at the Minibrute 2. Now, the Minibrute 2, it's not built to the same stage quality, right? So the stage aspect of that thing, you got the tilted faceplate, which I love on the Sub Fatty. Like, I have one of those, and I think it's one of the best synths ever. So it's not that. It's the difference between something like that and the Minibrute 2, which I believe honestly, like, they compete fairly directly, is the fact that they're both very patchable. They're both 2 oscillator synths, right? But there's differences. Like the Minibrute 2 has things like it's got a built-in a separate VCA with attenuators, and like it's got these patchable functionality that is there that makes it extremely usable. 2 different styles of envelopes, you know, like the Grandmother lacks a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it comes in at a higher price point.
Would you say
with a different build quality?
Wouldn't you say that it's a little bit like the Sub 37 versus the Matrix Brute? Like the Sub is something you could take on stage, like, but you don't really on the Sub. You don't really have all those sound shaping possibilities like you have on the Matrix. Like the Matrix, you could bring on stage, but there's also so much going on there.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the Sub 37 is really cool in that it has certain modulation that the Matrix Brute doesn't have.
Yeah,
like you can modulate filter poles, which is amazing on that thing.
Yeah, true.
But you have to do it through a little bit of diving, you know, like not a lot of diving, but a little bit of it's not on the front panel. And then on the Matrix Brute, conversely, everything is on the front panel. There's no diving at all.
Is the menu. On the Matrix Brute.
Yeah. Like that's the cool thing about the Matrix Brute, in my opinion, for the stage guy, is that all your modulation is directly viewable from the panel at a glance, no diving. And I think that's something that we haven't seen in something that deep in a long time, you know?
So, hey, okay, D Still, did you have the Matrix Brute at one point?
In the box still, but it's not here anymore, but I'm going to get it. And it kind of sucks because now I'm going to have to get it for a higher price.
Yeah, true.
I don't know why you did that.
Yeah, my Matrix Brute investment just skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
You
talking about the price rise?
Yeah, so it's going to be 25 now, right?
No, I think it's not 25. Is it? Is it 15? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
19, no, it's 2000. It came out at 1500, 1599. Now it's 1990.
Worth it. Worth every freaking penny.
I think it's worth it, and that's why I'm still gonna, have it.
It's still my favorite synth in my setup. Like I love it.
I actually want to get both. I want to have the Matrix Brute, and I also want to get that subsequent 37, that special edition, whatever they have, the CV edition of it or whatever.
Yeah, that one would be great.
Yeah, that's the one that I want to get, just because, even though people would say they're similar synths, I feel like they have different applications, and I would design totally different sounds with them. So like, I'm excited to have both in my
I would love to have CV on my Sub 37. Like that would be so killer.
Sub 37.
I mean, just the way you can interface with it.
Matrix Brute's always been $1,999. Yeah, but that price is going up. That's what it is. Yeah. It's going up by like $400 or $500. Yeah,
25. Yeah.
Which is not because they want to make it go up. It's because the actual tooling costs, like the parts, are going up in cost.
Yeah, I know that. So that's kind of why.
I tell you what, man. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go on a love rant about it. Man, I love that thing.
But here's what I will tell you, Ken, and you know, because I've been talking to you and Marco Polo about this like crazy. I love this Minibrute 2S.
Yeah,
I love it.
Let's do a real quick shout out to that app, Marco Polo. If you guys don't have Marco Polo, the reason why I'm shouting it out is because I don't think enough people know about it. But basically, it's like text messaging through video, right? So like you can have a group chat, and instead of text messaging, you're shooting short videos, right, to each other, and it's really easy to use and whatnot. But I want more people to use it because I don't want that app to die.
Yeah,
I use it a ton.
Yeah,
it's a great app. So yeah, if you guys don't have it, it's on like every platform. Marco
Is
Polo
it like the Marco
dope.
Polo video walkie-talkie?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good. Like if you've got a group of friends that you want to stay in contact with, and you don't want to have to text message every single thing, but also like phone calls, like we're all on different time zones, so it doesn't always work, and we're busy at different times. This way you can just, so when you're talking and say somebody's there, say I'm talking and Corey is actually there right now, he'll see it in real time. But if he's not there, he can come, like me and Corey can be having a conversation, Steele can come on later on and see all those videos and then chime back in. So it's really dope.
It is dope.
I just noticed when I did full screen in Hangouts, suddenly my eyes were just blasted by the red little thingy in your corner, Ken. Like boom!
Oh yeah, that's a neutron.
It hurt my eyes.
It's like ah!
And that's the thing. Like that's the thing is for me, like people hated the fact that the sledge was yellow.
I like that actually. I like
people hated the fact that the neutron is red. Like I like it when
they should have done it like a real red. Now it's like this. I don't know.
It looks better in person than I think it does.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I think so
it looks
too.
good.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't. The color of it does not bother me one little bit.
I think it's not the color per se. I think it's the fact that the color and that there's the graphics behind it, which looks
don't get me started on that graphic. It looks like hieroglyphics. It's like someone just carved hieroglyphics all over.
You're talking about it's basically like it's like hash marking black on there. And not like, to me, I don't mind it. I think it looks all right. Could it look more sleek in like a black and gray or whatever? Yeah, it probably could. Like if somebody did and I think Grayscale or somebody did a panel for it.
Yeah, I saw some mock-up of,
and it looked really cool. It did.
I could get behind that for sure.
The Neutron looks like a horrible pair of 90s sneakers.
I don't know that I would be opposed to having that, but at the same time, like I like it when manufacturers like get creative and they use different colors. Like I feel like you see certain stage performers and like their entire setup is white or their entire setup is black or whatever, and I'm like, that's cool, I guess. But at the same time, I'm like,
but
I like being inspired by individual pieces of gear.
Mr. Sweden here. You know, we got Electron, we got Teenage Engineering, you know, all the good looking, cool design stuff. You know, it's if you look at the pocket operators, that's a good example.
The Americans.
Wait a second.
Ken is not a fan of the Electron style.
Yeah, I know a lot. Okay, so Bo, check this out. A lot of my friends that are producers, every time they come to my studio and they see my Electron gear, they're just like, "What is that?" And I'm like, It's a Digitech. It's a rhythm. They're like, I don't like the way that looks. I'm like, why? I'm like, it's actually real ergonomic. There's buttons for every function. Like, it's great. They're like, nah, I don't like it, man. So I guess it's just an American thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. I don't want to get into that. You know, I could make some joke about like American.
I'm that messy. You know how like they try to come out with these Facebook rants that are complete bullshit, but like they'll say like 10 traits of super intelligent people, and then they show like a messy desk, and you're like, no, dude, you're just trying to make yourself feel better. Well, I'm that messy dude. Like, I'm not saying I'm intelligent. I'm just saying I'm messy.
But okay, I mean, what I'm aiming at here is like if you look at like the pocket operators, they have these small, you know, the small drawings, like the punch, the KO has the little boxing thing, and it's somebody's kid over on Teenage Engineering who did the drawings, and like that's like little quirky, corny, but it still looks good. Like that's the thing. Like they do it with style, and that's what I'm missing from like the DeepMind and the Neutron. Like it's
The DeepMind's got hold on. The DeepMind. I'm gonna come to their
I can't
defense
get behind it.
this.
I can't get behind it. Sorry.
You're so wrong. So listen, here's what I'm gonna say. Because no, I totally disagree on that. Because
here we go.
The wood ends, the cherry wood ends on the DeepMind look very nice, like very, very nice. And it's black and white. Like it kind of. I totally disagree. I think the DeepMind looks nice. I think the screen is a little gaudy.
Go into this with an open mind here for you, Ken. Okay, I'm going to Google it here. DeepMind 12.
And I think the desktop looks nice too. Those cherry wood ends are actually like, I was seriously surprised at how high quality the wood ends were.
Actually, it is pretty nice. I kind of dig it, right? The cherry wood ends. Can't remember when we saw it at NobCon for the first time. I
was surprised.
That's nicer than I thought it would be.
It's not gaudy, like it's not.
I think it has kind of a like how do you say it? Like it's not over the top.
It's a very conservative sort of design, though.
I don't think it's gaudy. Now the Neutron is a little bit gaudy, but I'm okay with that. Like just like Metasonics. Metasonics has like these brash yellow panels. They've got drawings of like horse penises, like all kinds of weird stuff on their panels. I'm like, dude, that shit looks crazy to me. I kind of dig it. Like,
I honestly like the way the DeepMind 6 looks better than the DeepMind 12.
Interesting.
So the DeepMind
6 does look a little bit, design-wise, it does look a little bit more refined and chill. Yeah, I kind of think
I like the form factor of the 6 too.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's just something more appealing with the DeepMind.
I think the keys look longer, and it looks more compact. So I feel like that's why. And also, I think the knob and the pitch and knob wheels are different colors than the 12.
I don't know. I'd have to see that again.
I don't know. All I know is that I really enjoy the DeepMind 12 still. And like people hate on it, but like I had a Juno 106 and this thing scratches that itch times 20. Like I have zero desire to have a 106 again.
I wish I could fix my screen though.
Yeah, your screen messed up, right?
Yeah, my screen.
You didn't figure it out. Did you mess with the cables or no?
Yeah, I took the whole joint apart and reseated all the cables, and it's still, it's just a blank.
You better send that joint in. It's got a warranty.
Yeah, I need to do that. Yeah.
Even that, I think the warranty counts for tool-made samples.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how to approach that because it is a tool-made sample that was sent before it came out. So,
and honestly, like, so that's something that we should preface because, like, I'm not being biased one way or the other. So Corey's got a specific issue with his unit. It's weird though. Like, only on certain screens it goes blank, right?
Well, all screens but the effects screen.
Like, the effects screen works. Everything else is blank.
Everything else is blank. It's very strange.
But now you could jump to say, okay, well that's a problem with manufacturing, blah blah blah. But you have to also remember these are tool-made prototypes, right? So these are tool-made samples early, so it not necessarily indicative. And I say that because I know for a fact that certain things were changed on the DeepMind production later on in life because they're producing.
How's the keys on the DeepMind though?
So the tool-made samples. The keys did not have any kind of felt underneath. Oh, yeah, they have a slight clack to them when you hit them hard. The second shipment of them, they started putting a line of felt underneath so you don't hear that clack anymore. So if you read in forums and you're seeing like, oh, they got clacky keys in this and that. There's
that's
actually
one of those things too that I didn't notice at first. And people were like, you dig that clacking? I'm like, ain't no clacking, but I don't.
Mine will clack if I hit them hard, but it only clacks on certain keys. It only does it on certain keys. But I haven't done the upgrade to mine, and I actually intend to. Now, to just so that people are aware, if anybody has a DeepMind and their keys clack, just be aware that one, they offer an upgrade service for anybody, like free of charge. Anybody who has clacky keys and doesn't like it, they will put that line of felt in there for them for free, at least from what I understand. And also, all the later models of DeepMind 12, it's already in there. Like, so that's something that they've discovered after the fact, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well, this is a problem. Fixed it." So just be aware of that.
I'm going to change my name to Clacky Keys.
What's that?
I'm gonna change my Twitter handle to Clacky Keys.
Clacky Keys.
It's all right. We already know.
I mean, if you're working with Electron stuff, you know, you're all about the clackiness.
Oh, I love I actually love the Digitech Pads. Yo, they're so like satisfying to like click on these.
To me, and I know some people would have a problem with me saying this, but I feel like that those Digitech Pads are those buttons are kind of like the new age SP1200 buttons.
Yes.
Because the SP1200 buttons were hard. Honestly, when in the 90s and early 2000s, I did not like that. When the SP1200, I'm like, yo, why is it like that? It's like a button. It's like a doorbell. You know what I mean? But I've grown to kind of like that, and I can honestly say that these Digitech buttons.
There's just something fast about having those kind of almost keyboardish, like computer keyboard type controllers with the clackiness and everything. It's very fast. You can tweak it very fast. Yeah, you always know if you're kind of hitting the buttons. That's like one thing I really dig about like playing melodies on the Digitech compared to say the analog Rhythm, for example, because it has the pads, and I'm actually more comfortable playing something with the kind of more computer keyboard style since I don't really have like the MPC background. Like the Machina was pretty much my first pad-based controller.
So wait, when you were doing Swedish hip-hop and stuff back in the day, who was making your beats? Were you making the beats, or did you have a producer? Or what?
Yeah, I did everything.
What were you producing on?
Oh, back then I had a PC. I was running Nuendo from Steinberg, Fruity Loops, like way back.
That's
when
back when it was called Fruity Loops.
Yeah, exactly.
When it was still Fruity
It was
Loops,
just I remember when we got the version where you could use it as a VST inside of Cubase. So I used it for all my drums and stuff. And I had like a DX100 still and Yamaha RM1X and some other like stuff. But I didn't really use them. So I used I think Trillion from Spectrasonics. I used Atmosphere, the prequel to Omnisphere. Yeah, stuff like that, I guess. Like the FM7, right, from Native Instruments was still a thing. Yeah, and that other thing, that really cool Absinthe.
Absinthe is great.
So freaking ugly, and it's green. How can it be ugly and green? I don't know. But Absinthe is dope. Like,
Absinthe is great.
If there's one synth that I want,
right up your alley with the colors.
If there's one synth that I would want Native Instruments to just completely redo and make it a powerhouse, it's Absinthe, because that thing is amazing. Like,
it has some crazy like flute sounds that was super organic.
If you really dive into it, like, it's got, man, people don't even know. Like, that synthesis engine is far more advanced than like 90% of what's out right now. Like, you can go in and toy with like granular synthesis oscillators and all kinds of crazy stuff, and people just like skip right past it because it's freaking ugly.
Well, it is pretty. Makes the difference for a lot of people. You know,
what's that, Corey?
That'll make the difference for a lot of people. Like, if it's not inviting. No matter what it is, if it's not inviting, people will walk right past it. And not
it irks me, but I've been using it long enough to where I'm like, okay, like I did some sound design stuff with it, and I was like, okay, so I got used to it. But yeah, if I didn't have to use it for the certain things that I did, I wouldn't have known how dope it is. Like, I would skip past it too, you know?
Yeah. But I guess like going back to what you said very early, Ken, when you sort of described your experience with my channel when I started it up, something like it's so interesting when people come into my channel, because I do a lot of the synth stuff, and sometimes I've had the fortune of covering synths very early, and of course I understand people coming in with expectations and whatnot, but I just find like certain things, like we're talking here, we've been sitting here talking about like the looks of stuff and the design and how that's appealing and everything, and I think it's interesting because there's a group of people, a percentage of the audience or the user base that doesn't seem to get this, like how important it is that you really enjoy like the look and sort of the feel of a product. Like there's a vast difference of sitting with something like a Moog to sort of sitting with one of those like mini jams or whatever, like just from the way you just touch it. It's just different.
Yeah,
it's true. The design and the look and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I come from a background where customizing gear and stuff like that, and changing, even as simple as changing knobs, because sometimes the way something looks is inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, look at the MPCs. The MPC scene. You know, changing pads, changing knobs.
Yep, exactly. That whole kind of thing.
Yeah, customizing.
Ken is pressing me about my letdown gear because I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, we got our little private chat, and I'm like,
yeah,
let you down.
Nah, so you know what? I think there's a couple things. There's two things that I'll mention right off, and I just pull this off the shelf because I was going to mention this. This is not so much a letdown, but there were enough kind of bugs in it. Like I still don't know how to use a sequence on it because I feel like it was never finished.
That's crazy. I'm looking at it right now and I'm lusting. Like I love chips. So
the sound is incredible. I love it. I put authentic chip in there too. But the build quality, yo.
I knew the build quality because I have one here. Hold on. So I've got this guy here,
which they're so hollow and light, and
they are. But so I have the MK3 of this. Now these things were known. The early versions of these were known for having terrible build quality. The later ones, on the other hand, were known for actually sounding really good and having, you know, the build quality is decent. Like it's still hollow, no doubt, but like the encoders and everything feel good. And I love the Zox box. I absolutely love it. I use the crap out of it. Like I'm one of those, not a lot of, and Corey's going to speak to this in a second because I'm going to set him off, but not a lot of hip hop dudes love the 303. I actually love the 303. But yeah, like a lot of hip hop dudes hate the 303. I've always liked it ever since I heard like, man, early 303 stuff. But of course, I wasn't overexposed to like what did they call that? Hop house or whatever it was.
Hip house.
Hip house. I'm not a hip house fan, but I use it more in like a almost industrial music style where like I'm distorting the living shit out of it and that kind of thing. Like I love like the Sonic Couture, I think it was, did a Devilfish.
Devilfish.
They did a Devilfish 303 contact instrument, which that thing is dope. Like man, if you desire any sort of cool 303 sound, but you don't want to buy a Zox box or a 303 or whatever,
those words put
check
together.
that
Cool 303 sound. Like
dude, the Sonic is dope, man. Like don't sleep on that thing. I made some serious beats with that.
Well, here's the thing.
I got another one though.
The 303 is horrible for me in hip hop, but I like the sound for other stuff.
I get you.
You know what though? It's not. I totally disagree, and I would Steele. I'm gonna have to let you borrow mine.
I'll try it, Ken.
I'll let you borrow mine, and but what I'll say is it's all in how you use it. So like acid dudes, they throw the resonance way up and they get that squelchiness, and that's part of that sound. But that's like saying, well, a funk bassist slaps a bass hard. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that a jazz player has to do the same thing. Like it's different ways of playing the instrument. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Well, you know what? I can honestly say that today, in the way that I make music and blend in boom bap with modular synthesis and stuff, that exploration would probably open me up to exploring the 303 more nowadays.
Yeah, I would do it more now than I would have back in the day.
Right. So being raised in an environment where all of the music, like in Chicago and Detroit, was the 303.
So there's this thing where like certain genres of music exalt certain instruments in different ways. You know what I mean? And you could take that from blues and bluegrass all the way on through, EDM, techno, whatever, the 303 gets exalted in these niche genres for being used in different ways, but actually having that and kind of using it. And I know like, Paul from DinSync or something will probably laugh about it because he's like so anal about like he makes the 303, which I highly recommend people check out. I don't have the money for one. If I did, I'd get one. But
what are those going for?
Man, I'm not even sure off the top of the head, but here's what I'm saying. If you're a nerd like me, and like you see I got like oscilloscopes back here and stuff, like I love examining sound, right? If you examine the way that the filter works, if you examine the way the envelopes work, and if you examine the way that they get the actual waveforms that they get out of them, it's a really interesting synth on that level, right? So on that level, I started to really appreciate why other people were appreciating it in genres that I don't really listen to. Like I'm not like a big acid guy. Like I don't listen to that stuff. You know, it's, to me, acid has a whole different meaning from the 90s. You know, it's not the music. So I'm like, you know, I started examining it and how I can use it towards hip hop, you know, and I use it totally different from the way the acid music would. But I enjoy the characteristics of the synthesizer that are not present in other, like if I have like just a triangle wave or a square wave in my oscillators in my modular, that's very different from the triangle and square that's in a 303. Like the way that they actually look on a scope and the way they actually sound, very different. So there's a lot to enjoy about it if you respect that other genres piece of gear. There's a reason why they exalt it. You know what I mean? There's a reason why.
No, of course.
E355 guitars are exalted, like, you know.
But not in my house.
Yeah, word. Hey, so hold on, I got a second one. The other thing, and this, I know some people love this piece, but I did not enjoy it, and there's probably a few reasons why I didn't enjoy it. But the montage, I had the montage for, gosh, how long did I have the montage for? I didn't ask for it.
A while, yeah.
I had it a while. They called me and were like, "Hey, you want to review the montage?" And I was like, "The montage? Okay, I got nothing like that. Sure, send it over." And while I will say it does sound good, the FM synthesis engine, it's a great FM synthesis engine, and you can import all your DX7 sounds into it, but it wasn't comprehensive. It was too much menu diving, and then it was kind of quirky in the way that it works when you use it with something like an MPC. There was some weird stuff about it. The sound was almost too clean for me, so it was one of those pieces of gear where I thought, oh, I'm kind of let down by this, but at the same time, it wasn't one of the things that I was seeking out. But when it came to me, I kind of started realizing part of it was like, oh, that adds a little something different to the way I produce, because everything I produce is very much dirty, right? Yeah. And that thing was almost too clean, and I think that's what I didn't dig about it. Bigger than anything.
I mean, aren't those like the big flagship keyboards? I mean, or keyboard synths. To me, or the workstations, to me, it's a little bit like a VST in a box, in a sense. Yes. Like you have the nice pianos, and everything sounds really nice, nice, and it's clean, and it's. But I mean, it's not like you're, except for maybe like the Triton series was kind of iconic in certain ways. Korg did some stuff there with their sounds, I guess, and there's some older Roland stuff, of course, with kind of an iconic sound.
So you mentioned,
but nowadays it feels very clean and
yeah, it does. And you mentioned workstation, and the thing about it is when they mentioned the montage to me, I said, okay, I've not used many workstations. In my head, immediately, this is this is a part of that workstation lineage. But here's the thing: it's not. Like you think it is, and I thought it was. I even reviewed it that way. But when it came down to it, it's not. It doesn't have a full, like, workstations have incredible sounds. It has a great sequencer, and it has a sampler most times. This thing didn't have a sampler. It didn't have a full-fledged sequencer. It was just a playback sort of recorder. 2-track, 3-track, 4-track, whatever it is. That's what I think. So that's the thing that made me say I'm disappointed in this, because I was expecting this mothership workstation,
and they were trying to scream, "Hey, this is not that."
yeah. Actually, to tell you the truth, for anybody that frequents my website, bboytechreport.com, you may have noticed I had the montage review up for a while, and then I took it down because they were like, "Hey, you reviewed it like it was a workstation that didn't quite meet the mark."
And I was like, yeah, because that's the impression.
That's the impression that I got. A lot of people. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, they wanted it to be a stage performer's keyboard, I guess, is mainly it. And like they wanted it to be like a rack of keyboards inside one keyboard without the stuff that makes a workstation, which is, you know, the multi-track sequencer and all that stuff, which is kind of crazy because you're like, well, are you taking the cheap way out, or like what's happening? Like, why are you doing that? But at the same time, it's a dope synth. Like, you gotta hold it up next to what's its competition, the Kronos, and the Kronos is like direct competition, but the Kronos has all that.
Yeah, it has all that. And here's the thing: if I didn't think of it as a workstation that was lacking the sequencer, maybe I would think like, wow, that's a dope synth, dope keyboard. That is the problem, though. Did they market it that way? I don't think so, but some reason everybody.
You know what they did? I actually remember because like, and you know, I didn't review one. I didn't have one in here, but I do remember them specifically saying like, this doesn't have, you know, these sequencers. Like, it's not a DAW. Like, you know, it's to be used with your DAW. If
that's
it,
they went for the
they figured that everybody already had all these other powerful sequencers, but we don't need it, you know? And you know what? That's kind of like this. It's not necessarily wrong in the fact that they're thinking like that, but at the same time, it's like they're not thinking of all the different use cases of how, like, just because I have a sequencer in my gear doesn't mean it's my main sequencer. I might tie that to, say, Machina or Studio One or whatever else. Like, I can be running one sequence on one piece of gear here, and that MIDI can be affecting something else over here and vice versa, you know? So I feel like it got to be this, and maybe that's the minority. Like, maybe not a lot of people are doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
like
that's
they just felt like, you know what, maybe we're trying to do too much and we should just stick to the synths and let that be that.
Which I think it does have a very deep FM synth engine.
It does.
So it's one of those things where it's like, if you're into that and you need like a new modern FM synth, hey, go ahead and make a ton of dubstep bass sounds with it. Like, I don't care, you know? Like, but I think they just could have marketed it in a way better.
Great point. That's the point. They missed the mark on the marketing because people think that thing is something that it's not. And they did a lot of taking that thing and trying to integrate it into the new workflow where it's not, it doesn't have a sequencer on it that's deep, but it does do all this audio over MIDI and audio over USB where you can record multiple tracks at once. And you know what I mean? It's deep integration into your DAW workflow where it removes that feature set from the box itself. From, you know what I mean? So that was a little bit too much for me, man. I didn't really dig it. When it was time to bring it back, I was like, oh, great,
I got a buddy of mine that's got one, and he swears by it. Like, so my buddy Jim, he's got a montage, and he loves that thing, and he's a synth player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's playing it as a synth, and I think on that level, it's really dope. The FM synth in that thing is not to be messed with at all. Like,
but no, to be honest,
nobody's making that.
Jim is not to be trusted. You know, he thinks that the OB6 stripes looks good.
They do. They do. I mean, I'm on his side. Bo, go back to your Swedish pals. Push it.
You know, it could have been a clean blue. It could have been a black. You know, matte black. But instead to go for blue stripes.
I'm the furthest person from a DSI lover. Like I was literally just getting ready to go into a rant about how certain companies, they make gear and they think it should be a certain way and they omit features because they think it should be this way, but they just don't think about all the use cases. DSI and their Tempest is a perfect example. How the hell they thought it was okay to make a drum machine that couldn't send MIDI notes out of the MIDI program is beyond me. So DSI knows that me and them got a love-hate relationship, and I will smack them up.
Love-hate though, really can.
But those blue stripes are sexy. I'm just saying.
I'm staying quiet on this one because Ken's going on his. He's going on his.
Yeah. I was quiet when we was talking about the 303 stuff and so on because I'm kind of a heretic there. You know, I will go on air and say like I'm not a fan of the 808 or the 303. Like
So I just booked my flight on Travelocity to Sweden to smack your ass up.
I totally get like the whole like the history and the importance and like how these are like instruments that shaped music. I mean, of course, like it shaped history. Like these instruments.
I think me and you. I think me and you are on the same boat with the 808. Like I like some of the sounds, but I never thought it was the most amazing drum machine sound ever.
Yeah, and I totally get like
I still like the 909 more,
and so on. But you know, when people say like, yeah, 2018, this is still the best drum machine ever, and I'm like,
I don't know that. Right? Yeah,
I wouldn't say that at all. Nah. I wouldn't say that at all. But I will say this: for those of us,
this is the best drum machine.
Yes.
Yeah,
I actually agree. I totally agree.
If it had the user interface of this,
the
best drum machine.
Nah, I'm sorry, dude. Sorry.
So I can hate
what are you saying?
I can hate Yesai as much as I want, but at the same time,
wait, Ken. You guys just want to check. Want to check with you. When you say best user interface, do you mean like that the analog rhythm should be discontinued?
No, man. I had both.
The user interface being like no more updates. Is that's
never. There should be updates for like the rock, like just the first ever rock that was made. Like
wow, yo, this rock got USB in it.
No, what I'm saying is I had the Rhythm and I had the Tempest at the same time. I ended up selling the Rhythm MK1. This is before the MK2 came out because of mostly because of the user interface. Like it didn't speak to me as a sound designer, as somebody who was trying to create new drums on it at the time. I had both. I actually preferred the Rhythm sound. I thought the kicks got lower, more beefy, like they punched you a little bit better, but I thought the Tempest snares and percussion were a little bit better. The sample import on the Rhythm MK1 kind of sucked. I didn't really enjoy the process of it. So that was, but at least it was there, but I didn't like the functionality, like how I was working on it. That all being said, when I sold it, I talked to Joe and Corey at the same time when I sold it. And I said, I will own one of these again one day because I loved it. Like, it wasn't a bad piece of kit, and I very rarely sell gear, period. Like I hoard gear.
Really?
Yo, I do.
Bro,
because you know what?
Ken has everything that he's had since he's 12.
Yeah, he has everything that he's ever had.
Well, no, actually, I sold an amplifier. I sold an amplifier when I was 15 for a PlayStation, and when I did that, I regretted it so much. And I swore I would never do that again. I said studio money stays in the studio, and like I got so upset about it because, dude, that was a dope guitar and a dope amp. And
I actually just sold my analog keys and my analog rhythm Mark 1 because honestly, I don't need two analog rhythms.
Did you buy an Xbox? Because that hurt.
Well, okay, so I want to get the Analog 4. That's my next.
I will get a Rhythm MK2. Like, that's gonna happen. I'm so happy with what they did with that thing. I'm so happy with it.
Oh, also, Corey, after like a month and a half with it, the pads are fine for me.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think you get used to them. I've even said that before.
I hope they're better than the MK1 because those pads.
No, they are.
They are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the sensitivity is not the greatest in some senses. But
I mean, it's not like an MPC or a Machina.
That's it. If you come from Machine or MPC background, you could be spoiled, right? But it's not like it's the worst pads. It's just the sensitivity is not exactly where you would think it would be if you come from that certain kind of background. But I got used to it quick enough.
I think it's like a marketing problem as well. You guys coming from the MPC and Machina, and if you're like into the hip hop scene, you'd think that that's what it is.
That's what it is. Exactly right. Yeah, and it's not.
But it's not. It's really about triggering, and it's about effects triggering as well.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's more about like, it's almost like clip launching, or, you know, because if you remember, like the Novation Launchpad, the first one was not velocity sensitive because it didn't need to be, because it was triggering clips, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, I agree with Bo on that. But as a guy who actually does come from the MPC and Machina, it was like, hey, Bo got me saying Machina now.
I was just going to comment on that I never heard you say that before ever.
It's because like if I was in Puerto Rico, I'd probably pronounce Puerto Rico differently. But guess what? I'm in Delaware. I'm calling it Machine.
Let's just work at this. Digitakt.
Digitakt. Yeah, I won't be saying
that. No, say it again. Say it again, Bo.
Digitakt.
Wait, Digitakt or
Digitakt?
Digitakt. Digitakt. Okay.
Look, yeah, you got it, Daniel.
Yeah,
American English is the king of broken language, so I'm just going to keep on saying Digitakt.
Bro, listen, I'm a black dude from the hood. If I walk up to somebody, hey, man, this is a Digitakt. They're going to be like, what? Oh, you talking about the Digitakt? I'm like, no, Digitakt.
Yeah, the Digitakt.
I'm like, sorry, man.
And then
they'll look at you, bro, and be like, who you think you is, man?
I'm like, hey, man, Bo Beats told me it was Digitakt.
And then you point to my channels. This dude's like, hello.
Hey,
man. We're having conversations with Native Instruments, and they were telling us that it was pronounced Machina, and I was like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, it does sound kind of corny.
Like,
yeah, and
sorry.
then we have the analog rhythm.
Yeah, I did it in one video, and I caught so much shit for pronouncing it correctly.
I say rhythm. I say rhythm. So I say it all the time, and my wife will walk into the room. She's like, "Do you mean rhythm?" I'm like, "No." I'm like,
look at how it's spelled. It's rhythm.
And she's like,
Machina.
I literally say it like a Jamaican, like
rhythm. It's the rhythm.
It's okay. Turn up the rhythm.
The rhythm.
That's what it is for me. That's what's up. Hey, you know what? Let me jump into still. Let me look and show us your acoustic foam back there. You had your camera.
Oh yeah. So I actually haven't mounted it yet, but I have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks.
Right.
Because I had to take it down because I'm gonna put these acoustic blankets instead so that I can roll them out of the way. So that I can change the way the room sounds depending on if I'm doing drums or vocals or guitar or whatever in here.
Now the contrast, here's the reason I mentioned that, because I know people have that kind of foam. What is it? It's acoustic foam.
Yeah,
it could be by several different. I can't RLX or something. It's one of the companies that I got mine from. So here's the aftermath of RLX.
That's why we use corkboard.
Yeah, right? I use poster. I use foam board. Yeah.
We bought our house, and I was like, when we get a house, I'm gonna make my studio room exactly the way I want it and all this. And so I put up my acoustic foam. I just sprayed the adhesive on the wall and placed the acoustic foam on there. And I recently started taking it down. And when I took it down, it was you peel it off, and most of it stays on. So if you could see over
and it'll ruin your
here,
foam too,
right? And on this side, you can see that I used to have some of that stuff up, and I've been taking this stuff off. The only reason I mention this is just so I can say this: if you had that problem, go get you some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that was the only commercial segue.
Yo, don't ever do that again.
I'm just telling you, people need to know this stuff, man.
Yo, Gooby going is the truth though. I
scraped the paint with the stupid thing. The wall and stuff was coming off of the thing, and the goo crap was still
I had to use that on my modular case because I use these those rubber shelf mats that you can get. I use those to keep my Bo and I both have the same studio desk. We got the Zor Yesk is what it's called with a Y. Right?
Yeah, I like that desk.
It's a dope desk, man. And shout out to Zor because it's a fantastic piece of kit. And not only that, it was easy for me to transport it from one studio to the other. So shout out to them for real. But yeah, I use this rubber sheeting, and I was using it on the top of my modular case, and it actually left nastiness all over my modular case. So when I went to move, Gooby going all over that stuff, man.
That's it. That's it. I'm just saying, when I was doing this, I actually filmed a little bit of it so I could put a little video up, because I'm like, I can't believe how well this works. Like
Corey was like, at the store, suffer with chronic headaches.
Yeah, use Gooby Gum.
But Ken, you were saying use a cork board. Is that the
so,
thing?
Yeah,
to put
what I prefer to do, as far as studio foam is concerned, what I always recommend to people is you can get cork board, right? You can get it at like Home Depots. You can special order it.
Is that the stuff you put Post-its on? Like
yeah, exactly. But you can get that stuff in industrial sizes, and you can get it in. You know, you can get it really firm. So get cork board, and then what you do is you spray adhesive. You can spray adhesive mount your foam, your studio foam, to that, and then mount your cork board to your walls. Because it's cork board, you're not going to hear any kind of vibrations from it or anything, and you can use command hooks, whatever, to make it so it's a non-vibration adhesive, and then you can remove it. You can move it around, because another thing that a lot of people don't realize is, and I say this, like, I know it looks terrible because I'm in a jail cell right now talking about this, so my acoustic treatment in here is horrible. I'm very well aware of that. Don't worry about it. But what I'm saying is that if you were to studio foam your entire studio, your studio would not sound great. You're not supposed to hit every single spot in your lab with foam. You need to treat it properly.
70, 30, 60, 40?
If you use cork board and you mount it to that, you can kind of move it around and check where it is, so you can get the happy medium.
Yeah, seriously, that's a great idea. Like, I should get that, because I have a ton of studio foam like in a corner here, and I used double adhesive tape.
Yeah, and that's a pain in the butt to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a rental. I live in a Swedish suburb in a rental house. So I can't like go ham on the walls. So the cork thing is actually really interesting.
Yeah, Bo, I use I use foam board, and I bought it at like at the dollar store, and basically I just mount that on the wall with command strips and put the foam on that. So,
okay,
so that's another way that I did stuff, and I can just move it around the room if I want to.
I have these. If you look at my screen, I have these big ones here on the wall.
Oh, nice.
These are people always ask me, like, don't you have any acoustic treatment? And yeah, I do, because these rooms are 4 by 4 meters.
Small.
Yeah. So and it's perfect squares. So there's a lot of standing waves and shit like that. Like, so without these big ass absorbers I got here. This is a bass trap in the corner. It's very deep. It's like three or 4 layers of knauf, like a sort of glass fiber, and the same for the absorbers. Without those, the room, you get a headache. Like the acoustics are insanely bad.
And what's crazy is a lot of people don't realize that you might not even be hearing it, but the sound pressure level is still hitting you, even though you don't hear it. Yeah. And that's not good for you at all.
Yeah. We have the exact same dimensions in our kitchen, and we're looking at putting up absorbers in the kitchen.
Can I recommend something for the kitchen?
Yeah, sure.
So, if you watch a lot of TV shows, you'll see they have these diffusers that are like wood, and they're like wood cut blocks and cut at different angles, and put a diffuser in there, and it looks better. Especially if you have like a wine rack or something up above, it looks better, and it'll dissipate a lot of that sound, and it's really good for that.
Yeah, because if we're sitting there dining, you get sort of a headache sometimes from the sound pressure.
Diffusers are great for that. Yeah, absolutely. A little diffuser, and maybe a couple of like what I like to use is if you use oil paintings or whatever in your house. You can put a layer of what do they call it?
I know. Yeah.
What's that? Rock wool. So you can put rock wool behind your paintings, and then hang your paintings, and that helps great.
Yeah, rock wool is great. I use the denim version of rock wool. It's like this denim,
which is safer. It's environmentally
safer. So that stuff is really
rock wool is basically fiberglass fibers, and it can get a little dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to be breathing.
Yeah,
that
I
stuff
use
in.
the material I use in these because I'm allergic and asthmatic. I'm a weak weak guy.
I'm the same, bro. No, I'm the same.
Yeah, but it's the manufacturer is called Knauf, and I think they ship worldwide. And it's a eco-friendly glass fiber. I don't think it's real glass fiber. I think it's some kind of hybrid thingy, and it's supposed to. It's one of the few which are like, how do you say, certified by the how do you say, like the allergic
Hypoallergenic.
yeah so
Look at
it's
me with my fancy words. I get $10.
yeah, but I know for a fact that these are supposed to be really, really good. So if it gets into there, it's not supposed to be. It didn't even, when you take glass fiber, you hurt your hands, you get itchy. Yeah, it doesn't get that. You can hold.
I met with a company at NAMM that was doing some stuff like that. I'm still in my jail cell until I build my new studio, which is going to be right outside of this room. But once I do, I'm going to be doing a lot of eco-friendly soundproofing and whatnot. Because
I always go back and forth between building and buying those stupid things, and so at some point, but I will.
Well, there's a happy medium between the two, because like you have to realize that certain things that are really large just aren't economical to ship. So maybe if you live in a major city area where you can get them locally, that's great. But a lot of areas like myself, like I'm in Delaware, where I'm a half hour from Philly, and I can get to major city areas, but realistically I'm lazy. So I'm probably going to end up building a lot of that stuff myself, just because I know that, okay, it's not hard work. Like you're talking about a couple of 2x4s, a couple of sheetrock, and some covering over top of it. It's really not that hard of work. But the specialized stuff, the specialized materials, I'm willing to pay for,
I built these not myself. I'm not that handy, but I had a friend coming in and helping me.
All right, so listen, we're gonna move on to talk about the current situation, because I'm not gonna allow them to drag me into the what gear is not what you expected it to be topic. Instead, I'll just talk about what's the current gear that's not what I expected it to be. Topic.
Oh my god!
I don't want to hear this.
I could bitch slap any company out there. We're gonna move right into the MPC, because Corey's been on the MPC for a while, and I just got on the MPC Live. And Steele just got on the MPC Live.
Yeah.
Me and him both got on the MPC just about the same time. And I'm a long-time MPC user. Steele, did you use MPCs before this?
Yeah, I used the 2500 and the 3000.
Okay, so hold on. The 3000, did you use that after the 2500 or before?
Before.
So you use that. Was that yours?
No, so where one of the guys that actually taught me how to produce had a 3000 in his studio. So that's what I kind of learned on. And then and then I bought a 2500.
Just like arrange on it, or what?
What happened?
I want to know your 3000 level of knowledge. Like, so I'm probing. Like,
no, my 3000 level of knowledge is just programming.
Okay.
My 2500 level of knowledge is astronomical.
Okay. All right. Then that's good. So, and Corey, now I know Corey's got the 60. Before you had the 60, what else did you have?
Starting on the 2KXL, 2000.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
and then so after that, later in time, I got the 5000, and then
Okay. So the 2000 XL is my personal heart. I still think that is actually, and I know people will yell at me about this, I still think that was like the best MPC ever made. Like, I love the 2000 XL, because to me, it brought what the 3000 did right, but it made it do right in like a proper way, because it had waveform editing, which was huge back then. And I love the 2000 XL because it didn't try too hard to be what it isn't, and it did what it is perfectly, which is the same reason why I love the Sub Fatty, So I got the MPC Live recently, and I've had a love-hate relationship with the MPCs of the last few generations. I switched over to the Machina See, I'm still saying Machina now, just because he's in the room. It's like fine wine. Bo, you are like fine wine from another area. I'm just enjoying you. So I have Machine here, and I use the crap out of Machine. I use it constantly. I use it more than any of my DAWs. It's my go-to piece of gear, to be quite honest. When I'm using my modular, I'm using Machine. When I'm doing anything, I'm using Machine. But I came from a 2000 XL that I loved like it was my wife. Like, I loved it deeply. So I got the live.
Is your wife okay with that?
Oh, she knows it. Like, my live, listen, my MPC 2000 XL was literally in the room when my daughter was born. It was literally in the room when I graduated from Votech school. Like, it was always with me. Like, it's very much a part of my family. So I got the live, and this is the first standalone MPC I've had since then. And I gotta say, like, it's really dope for what it is. I used to keep a power inverter in my car so I could plug my MPC 2000 XL into my car and just drive around with it. There's a lot about the live that I'm loving, but there's some surprising omissions from this thing. Like, you can't do basic things like save an individual sample by itself without a program. Just save a sample. You can't do it. You can't assign a MIDI channel to an individual program. Like, these are basic things that were always present on previous MPCs that are not present on the new version of MPCs. So, Corey, you've been involved with the MPC for, like, these new generation of MPCs for a while. So I blame you. What is the deal?
I'm the designer. I get it.
I'm blaming you.
Wait, you blame Corey?
I blame Corey. I've been waiting this whole time to just blame Corey.
Oh, man.
It's like seeing a dude ride up on a motorcycle and be like, you know what? I got a problem with Harleys. I'm kicking this guy's ass.
That's right. Yo, like, I'm not crazy for noticing this stuff. This is basic stuff to me. Like, are you serious? Corey, okay, like, so you've been using an X for a long time, since before it came out. So I gotta ask, like, did it not irritate you during betas? Like,
but what part? I mean, because here's the thing, though. As a beta tester, there's a lot of huge things going on that you got to get through, right? And so there's a lot of stuff in beta testing that you may notice that's like huge issues, and you start to get through those, and maybe you don't notice like some of that. Like what you're saying, that basic thing.
I feel like that's a huge issue.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not as huge as the thing crashing all day when you're just trying to say hit save.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely, and I've been there. I've been there on the machine betas. I've been there on the early Ren betas, like the last. So I went to update my live, and I pulled up. Corey and them were talking. I was talking to Corey, Masada, and Stoney, and they were all like, "Yo, you need to update your software online." So I plugged it into my computer, and I went to update the machine, and my machine was at 0.76. I was like, yeah, I need to upgrade. So, like, I was involved on that early stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, it's been this long, and you're telling me that you can't assign a MIDI channel to each program? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
So I have a question. Can you do that, Corey? You might know this. Can you do that in the software?
Wait a minute. What's the assign a MIDI channel to each program? Is that what you're saying? What is it that you're saying there?
No, so you can't set, like, say I want to set up a drum program, right? And I want to assign that drum program's MIDI channel to MIDI channel 3. You show me how I do that standalone.
That's one of my pet peeves with the MPC is stuff like that. But in the CV world on the X, like you have different CV programs you can set up, and this is very much similar. So you have different CV programs you can set up, and you'll set up your CV program 1 to use CV 1 and 2. You set up CV program 2 to use CV 3 and 4.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm not trying to
I would
use a
expect-
MIDI. I'm not trying to use a MIDI
Hold
program.
on. Like it's the same thing. Let me finish that.
You
So
do
you
that.
have those two CV, you have those two CV programs, and when you go to a different sequence, it doesn't remember what you set up those two CV programs to be. So you have to actually go and say, "Hey, sequence number 30, I told you already that I want CV program 1 to use CV 1 and 2, and CV program 2 to use CV 3 and 4." Right? So that's some of the stuff like that. And I guess you get used to certain things, the way certain things work. But you know, what's beautiful about being on the beta is that you can raise that and be like, you know what? Actually, we should be able to assign this to that MIDI channel, that to that MIDI channel.
Yeah.
But I get used to the way it works.
The thing that got me though is that this is something that is so like I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is wrong.
How's it wrong what I'm saying?
I feel like I'm Iron Man and I'm talking to Peter Quill. Like your plan sucks. Vice versa. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Bourbon.
That's the problem.
Here's the point. This is a fundamental functionality of MPCs of the past, right? All the previous MPCs you could easily set up. Okay, this program is on this MIDI channel. This program is on this MIDI channel. And the reason you could do that is for a lot of different things. One, let's say I want to play keys. That's a key group on this MIDI controller over here. Let's say I want to play keys of an orchestra on this MIDI channel that's right here. And while I'm finger drumming over here, or I program this. Or let's go deeper. And let's say I've got an EMU MP7, right? One of my favorite MIDI sequencers, right? Let me say I want to have that thing sequencing this part over here, but this part over here, you know, a totally different program is being programmed by the MPC. You can only do any of this if you can control separate MIDI channels via per program. And that's available on all the previous.
So wait a minute, though. I think this. I'm confused with what you're saying. Let me just be sure here. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm a huge MIDI guy.
Okay.
You see, all this is MIDI'd up to my MPC right now. I can have each one of those playing a different melody on the same sequence, and it will be no problem. But yeah, if I wanted to, if I was on track 1 that has the Voyager on it, and then I went to track 2 that has the JX on it and tried to play something that's on the Voyager channel, I'd have to change the
MIDI channel
pattern. I'd have to change the MIDI track, or I'd have to go to a different channel and choose that particular. I just have to go to a different track and choose that particular channel. I don't know if I see anything. As long as all of those joints can play at the same time, I don't have a problem with it. And
let me ask you this.
That particular channel.
So let me ask you this, right? You're recording a beat, right? And you've enabled it. You've hit record. You've hit play. And you've got each keyboard is set up for its own program, right? And the joint is just playing. And you're like, wow, this sounds good. This sounds like, this sounds hot. So you play with your voice,
you have to search for that fancy.
And then you go and you play on your Prophet 6, and then you go play on the OB6, right? And you've played 3 different parts now without touching the MPC, right? Where are all those MIDI notes going to be? They're going to be in one place, because guess what? You can't assign where that MIDI is going.
I don't care to do that as long as I can.
I don't care that you don't care to do that. I don't care. You're wrong. Every MPC before could do that. Every not one. Every MPC before could. It's called an MPC.
Wait. But every MPC before this wasn't a hybrid. So this is
you shut your dirty face. I don't plug this into the
computer. Wait, so what I was going to ask is, you can probably do that in the software on the computer.
I don't know, honestly, because I don't use it that way, and that's the key, though. The key is there's a million different ways you can use the thing. All I care is
apparently the way Ken uses it, they forgot to add that button for the way that Ken.
No, hold on. You're deeply misunderstanding something. So let me break this down to you.
Like, this
For
thing
anybody
is great.
who has more than one piece of gear in their studio, this should be like a no-brainer. Like this is not complicated. This is basic stuff. This is stuff that any other sequencer can do. So all I'm saying is that when I hit record, I shouldn't have to touch the MPC any further than I can play on here and I can play on here at the same time. And I should be getting MIDI going to whatever program like if I assign this to MIDI program channel 1 and this is assigned to MIDI program channel 2, it should be doing that.
Let's be honest. You're playing on multiple keyboards at the same time.
Yes.
I don't
and figure drumming at the same time, so you can eat them. Yeah, I'm actually talented.
Yeah,
I feel like I should start to charge.
But beyond that, like yo, every MPC.
I need to
go ahead, book that session, Bo.
Whoa!
Now it's time to go into the corner. Ken, you need to time lapse. Whoosha.
Yo, how long have I had? Why should this be more powerful than live? Are you serious right now? How long have I had? Yo, I got a deeper question for you. You really want to play games? You want to play games with me, Corey? You're about to get dealt with. Here it comes. Why
can't get dealt with that?
No, you're about to get dealt with hard. Here it comes.
Okay, deal.
Why does the MPC Live have 2 DIN MIDI import? Like it's got 2 slots on the back, A and a B, right? It's got 2 MIDI ins. Why? If you're only going to be allowed to use one at a time. Answer me.
We're not saying that you're wrong, Ken.
All I'm saying is I don't know how it got to a thing where like you're wrong, I'm right.
It got that way because it's so much more fun when I can.
No one is saying that you're wrong. We're just like, hey man, go take a chill pill. Go jump in the pool.
Yo, me and Akai are about to fight, and I'm gonna get Roger Lynn in a headlock and be like, yo, why did you let your namesake go this way? No, like for real though, like I love it though. Like I think it's a dope piece of gear. Like I've been using it like crazy and I think it's dope. But I just find like there's these glaring omissions of basicness that are missing. Like the fact that I can't save a sample by itself is crazy to me. Like that makes no sense at all. Like I have to save it to a program. Are you kidding me? That's never been that way on any MPC. Like why would I have to do that now? So for a sound designer, that's a major drawback.
What I will say though is one thing you can honestly say about the way Akai of old works versus the way Akai of new works is that back in the day you got an update over the life of a product maybe once, twice, right? These guys are updating this thing several times a year. So almost anything that you could think of that should have, if you suggested it, probably would end up there because they're constantly it's a young piece that they're developing and maturing every day. I can honestly say that. So honestly,
no doubt. I'm optimistic about the future. I'm just surprised because I specifically was not an early adopter. And now I'm like a year in and I'm getting one. And I'm like, wow, you still haven't, like it's a MIDI production center that is supposed to be the best.
Is that what it stands for still?
Not anymore. They changed it to Music Production Center because they got so I don't want to get gender specific about it. And when I say this, I mean that I call men and women this equally. It's bitch made, okay? Like that's some bullshit. Okay. To the fact that they changed MIDI Production Center to Music Production Center originally was supposed to be because they were allowing audio tracks. Let's be real though. Like this thing is the MPC has always been the most powerful MIDI sequencer in hardware form that we've ever known. Like really, like it's just the best MIDI sequencer. Like the 2000 XL, the 4000, those MIDI sequencers are fantastic. But the fact that they all of a sudden were just like, meh, we'll just like maybe.
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things with it, man. That like there's some stuff that definitely the even the 5000 had that the X doesn't, or the 4000 had that those didn't. Right? Like there should be some things on it that we've talked about before that should be there that probably aren't. But here's what I think part of the problem is with a lot of different gear. We're in a new age, and I think the way people produce is different. So it makes the way machines and things are designed and developed a little different. Going back to the montage statement, when we look at that and say that's a workstation, why doesn't it have X, Y, Z? It's because they looked at it like we need to design this for the way people produce today and what the music is today. Right. And I think that's the key. When I look at the MPC, I got a ton of MIDI stuff MIDI'd up. All I care about is as long as I can go on that channel, tell it the Voyager and play that part, tell it the JX and play that part, and go to the next channel, tell it the DeepMind and play that part. And if I hit play and all them shits is playing together, that's kind of all I care about. But that doesn't say that that functionality you're talking about shouldn't be there. It probably should.
But hold on. Are you playing all those parts from one MIDI keyboard?
No.
And that's a problem. That's a serious
I can. I can, though. But I don't. It's not that
How are you setting it up? How are you setting it up? Because maybe I'm just new to this and maybe I'm not seeing it. How are you setting it up so that I can have my Matrix Brute, my modular, and my SQ80 all playing at once from one spot on the standalone joint?
You can it does MIDI over USB and it does traditional MIDI.
How are you assigning that MIDI channel?
The MIDI channel, it depends on what you set it up like. If I could open it up, I would show you, but it depends on how you set it up. Like you go into the settings.
I got it right in front of me.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do this all weekend.
Daniel, are we going to talk some more about Electron?
This is a simple thing though. Like all you do if you take Synth 1, MIDI in, MIDI out, plug it into whatever it is, MIDI A on the back of the MPC and out 1, whatever it is, you just got to know what you got your shit plugged into. Then select that channel and go through it. 16 channels for that particular podcast
so much.
Man, look, listen, I'll be the first person to say, if I find out that I'm wrong, I will be jumping up and down and I'll be screaming it to the world. But I spent all day yesterday out there on my porch. I was so excited that I could actually make beats on my porch, like without being plugged into anything else, which is dope. But then I got super disappointed because I had a field recorder with me and I sampled some stuff and I wanted to save it to its own, like just save
I don't
the sample
think you
by
got this shit
itself.
set up right, man.
I think you're wrong. No.
I would love.
I wish that was the case.
Like that was hearing Ken rant about this for 20 minutes, and he's like, "No, you just."
No, I wish that was the case because here's the thing. Here's what you can't do.
RTFM.
No, you're absolutely wrong on that because I did read the manual like multiple times. I went through it back, forward, left, and right. And here's the problem is that there's no simple way to assign multiple programs. So like I can't have program 1 be on MIDI channel 1, program 2 on MIDI channel 3, program 4 on MIDI channel 4. You can't do that.
Like the way this is when you want to play MIDI, you choose the MIDI program. Like on a track for the MPC, you have several things you could do. You can
there's two different kinds of,
or you can choose MIDI, or you can choose CV, or you can choose
plug-in. You're trying to play from an external sequencer. You can't.
What?
A drum program playing from an external sequencer. You can't do that.
Well, why would you do that if you have the MPC?
Because maybe I'm not using just one sequencer.
Yeah, I think I get what Ken is saying here. Like if you use like an external
like
device,
the Rhythm is a dope sequencer that can do crazy stuff like the MPC can't do.
Yeah, but the
Rhythm,
that's why we allow Rhythm to exist.
Listen, that's crazy that you say that. I've used the Rhythm. I have the MK1 sitting over here, and I use that with the MPC Ren, and I have the MK2 sitting here. I'm using it with the X. I'll program drum beats on the drum machine itself, the Rhythm, and then when I play the MPC, it plays that, and I'm allowed to go ahead and use the MPC to sequence my synths and all that stuff. It can do that.
We're gonna have to investigate this and come back, and we're gonna have to have.
Yeah, we're coming back next show. This is gonna be a hot topic, and we're gonna have ski beats. We're gonna have ski beats on the next show, and this is gonna be a serious topic because listen, And listen, if Corey's wrong, I'm reaching through this camera, I'm strangling his ass, and I'm punching people at random. So
hey, Bo, I think you need to schedule an appointment with Ken.
And can we just say, well, we're gonna wrap up, but wait, can we just ask one question? Ken, how long you had that MPC live?
A week.
All right, and I'll rest my case, ladies and gentlemen.
How long have I had an MPC? How long have I had MPCs? I've been using MPC for 20 years now. Come on.
I'm you know, Daniel, I think that Ken doesn't need a session. He just needs to change that shitty bourbon to something more intentional.
Hey, Bo, hold on. Before we go any further, let me just state this very clearly. Bo is not wrong because I'm drinking Maker's Mark today, and that's I need Balcones to sponsor me. I'm trying to so I know AA meetings, guys have sponsors to stop them from drinking. I need a company to sponsor me to drink. So Balcones Bourbon is who I'm trying to sponsor me because they're actually big fans of synthesizers. Balcones actually sends a guy out to each of the synthesizer meets to meet up with us. So my buddy Winston needs to be listening. And yeah, I'm gonna get a Balcones sponsor.
Also, I just want to say that this is not this issue that you have with MIDI is not an issue on Electron devices. I'm just saying.
You're absolutely right. It's not an issue on most MIDI centers. Like this is a real problem that Corey is trying to downplay.
I don't know why he's trying to downplay. The funny thing is that you keep saying like I own a Kai or something.
Corey,
I ain't trying to downplay anything. All I know is a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ken, I kind of feel like you're externalizing your anger on Corey here in a way. It might be a coping mechanism.
Hey, Bo,
tell him again, Bo.
If I cry on your couch, will you give me a Volca?
He's projecting.
Kind of like make some Volca beats while I'm telling you my life story.
I'm not that kind of doctor that removes Volcas from.
Oh.
You guys don't know the memes, the Volca memes.
It's very difficult. Trust me.
Oh man,
it involves an iPad app.
Well.
All right. So on that note, Balcones is in Texas. Somebody just asked, so it's in Texas. All right. So let's wrap up.
Did Ken just talk about American whiskey like it was good?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. You're
from Sweden. Don't talk about whiskey like
we have good Swedish whiskey. We have some serious stuff here.
Really? You send me some, and then we'll have a recommendation.
Yeah. Goddamn. What's the name?
Sorry.
But there's a couple of Swedish brands.
That's bad.
Send me a name so I can get some Swedish whiskey.
Don't go there, Bo.
All right. So hey, Bo, I want to thank you, man, for joining the show today. It's been a good time, man.
That's a good
come back anytime. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I'd love to come on again and poke fun at Ken.
No doubt.
Don't
be still. Phil, thanks for coming on, man. How's everything? You out of town soon, right?
Yeah, I leave. Actually, I am tomorrow. I head to Seattle for some recording, and then home for June, for the rest of June.
Yep, I'll be up there.
I'm actually excited about that. I'm excited about
sushi together in June, man.
Yes, that'll be great. Yo, sushi does sound delicious right now, actually. Then I'm gonna be in Sweden and in Norway in July, so I'm excited. I'm gonna spend my 4th of July out there, so I'm excited to see.
Wait, when are you going to Sweden?
I leave here the 3rd.
Okay, so
I'll be out there till the 7th, around there, I think.
Okay, I think I can.
Did you know where you were going?
I have to double check the tour schedule, but I'll email you. I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, it would be great to link up.
Yeah.
And Ken, in closing, you got something to say?
I just want to say, man, I love everyone, and that I'm a happy individual. And that Dave Smith, I really appreciate everything he's done for Synth. Even though I complain about his gear constantly, I actually love his gear at the same time. So I'm hoping to convince him to come on my show soon. I've got.
Come on,
No, I'm gonna bring him on the show. I'm gonna ask him about the stepping knobs. I'm gonna ask him about all that stuff. But I do want to have him come on the show. Same with Roger Lynn. So I'm gonna have them come on the show soon, hopefully, if I can force them. And I just want to say that as far as Bo is concerned, he's a good dude. So I want people to recognize that. And you know, I toast some nice American real whiskey to him, some bourbon that, you know, maybe one day he'll get a chance to come out to NAM and experience. So
we got to get you out to NAM, get you to Roscoe's, man.
That's right. You know what? If you come out to NAM is actually during Dave Smith's birthday, and he always has
shots on the floor.
He's got shots. He's a what do you call it? Tequila drinker. So he always does tequila on the floor. So yeah.
The funniest thing you ever want to see is Dave Smith and Roger Lynn after a few shots. They're very talkative dudes after a few shots on that NAM floor.
They are. I got an impromptu interview with them, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I should post this.
Yeah, because they're like leaking all this information.
They're kind of like us, but older. So, you know.
Awesome.
That's hilarious.
So this is going to be the show. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Beatppl podcast. This is episode 36, and you know I want to do something special for episode 40. I don't know what yet, but next week we're gonna have Ski Beats on, and we're gonna talk about modular and boom bap and mod bap and, you know, all those kinds of things. And so looking forward to checking you out next week. And welcome to
Switched On Bap. Go pre-order it.
Word up.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for checking the show out, y'all. Peace.
Peace.